All right, everybody, let's get going. Hope you guys are ready to grow. I hope you guys are ready to grow because there's an opportunity in every market. And I'm jacked up. First off, you guys get to hear from the one of the greatest of all times.
Well, arriba.
Um, yeah, bravo. Let's go. So you've got the opportunity to hear from Bobby Davidowitz, who's going to talk about something that is near and dear with me. It's about investing. And investing is a mindset that you need to have first to get the right opportunities going with your clients. And this process that you guys are going to learn about with Padsplit, I absolutely believe it can add 4, 5, 6, 10 deals to your business this year on top of what you're already doing if you understand how to shape the business for the consumer. See, I think for years and years and years, the consumer was like, oh, I want to be an investor. And we used to say, oh, you guys should do Airbnb. And we sold the heck out of Airbnbs, man. We sold the heck out of Airbnbs. And then Airbnbs got oversaturated, right? But now this new system, which by the way, if you guys have never heard of Padsplit today, Bobby's going to be talking about it today. This new system is probably even better than Airbnb because it allows you to leverage your client's desire to have a secure rental, right? With almost a guaranteed return built into it. So I've got my paper and pen. Hopefully you got your paper and pen. Maybe hopefully you're here to learn here at the Gap Mastermind. I see you, Ike. Gap Mastermind, growth, action, production. But today, pay attention because we're going to be teaching you guys the secrets on how to build a business through investors. And there's a lot of people out there. Bobby's going to tell you about the fact that there's a lot of people who've been sitting on cash waiting for an opportunity. They're just waiting for someone to show them, hey, what's a way that I can get in the market and be safe? And Bobby's going to be sharing with you guys an opportunity that I think for those of you guys who are in collegiate towns, for those of you guys who are working with people that are seniors, or those are people who are working with investors, seasoned investors, a new opportunity to get them excited to get that money out of their pocket and put it in the market. So most of you guys know Bobby Davidowitz. He is the franchise. He's Bobby Billions. He's so many things, but what he is an author, a national speaker, international speaker, an angel investor himself, as well as the co-leader of the first culture center in the world. So let's give it a round for Bobby Davidowitz from Investor Season, sharing with us how we can win today with investors.
What's up, Gil? Thank you for the intro. Welcome, guys. And we're going to talk about my favorite subject, which is investing. And I believe it should be your favorite subject as well. But before we get started, I want to invite you to something. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. Okay. I want everybody to sign up for this. So most of you guys might or might not know this, but my company Investor Season really started as a seminar that I was teaching agents. I felt like it was important for agents to understand that there was a shift in the market coming, that investors would be flooding the market. And I felt like they should not only know how to work with investors, but how to be an investor. That's how Investor Season started. It was just a seminar. Then I decided to make it my investment company. Okay. And in that kind of process, as I go out into the world for the past 4 years, I've been a part of investor masterminds and meeting these amazing people. So on Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. So if you go to investorseason.show, I put it in the chat. Go ahead and sign up because I want you guys to hear from some of the guys that not only I'm investing in, but that I get to meet out in the world, because there's more than real estate investing out there. There's other types of investing, but I really want you to listen to this guy because he's a repeat founder. He actually sold a company to Remax for multi-million dollars. Okay. So he's in our space. He's in the real estate space. He's now on his second company called Acre. And he's going to be presenting an investment opportunity in Acre. It's nothing that you have to invest in. This is all pass or play. I just want to expose you to what's going on out there. So if you guys really want to start diving in and listening to high-level investment stuff, I really would love for you guys to be there. So investorseason.show, sign up and make sure you get your spot there. With all that being said, let's go to Padsplit. Bam. Okay. See, presenter view. No, it's not what we want. We want play from current slide. All right. So let's talk about Padsplit. Okay. So out of curiosity, from the people that are on this call, I want you to put this in the chat. Number one is the number one in the chat if you've never heard of Padsplit. Put number two in the chat if you've heard about it, but don't know much about it. And I want you to put a 3 if you know about it and can actually explain it. Like you actually know what Padsplit is. You can explain it to an investor, so on and so forth. Let's see what we got. I got 1, 1, 1. Okay, we got Devin on the 3. We got Genscher on the 2. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. So this is the right crowd for this. So Padsplit is going to be really exciting for you guys. This is a newer investment strategy. The company was founded in 2018. Now they're up to about 16 or 17,000 doors. So it's working. So what you want to know, this is not a new idea. This is a company that's been around, but you're kind of catching it at that point in the curve where I think it's going to become a thing that everybody knows about, and you have a chance, right? You have a chance for an opportunity. So what if you could hear about Airbnb before it got really big, right? What if you were working with investors at the time when they were sitting there thinking to themselves, man, I've been doing these long-term rental investors. What's the problem with those long-term rentals that people normally do? Well, the returns are kind of limited, and what happens is when prices go up, so for those of you that are in Orlando or any place in the country, when prices go up, returns go down. So you've got a lot of people that are kind of used to this like long-term buy and hold strategy, but are finding that it's really, really hard to find a property that makes sense. Right? Remember that 1% rule that, many of you guys who have taken my investor classes, the 1% rule when it comes to like traditional long-term rentals, meaning somebody who's going to rent it for 6 years or a month, like one family who's going to rent it for 6 years or 12 months, the 1% rule that you should be getting at least 1% of what you paid for the property every month in rent. So if you pay $300,000 for a property, are you getting $3,000 a month? Well, most these days you're probably not, and you'll probably be paying more than $300,000 for the property. So you have a problem. So Airbnb comes out, and now it's this new strategy. It's this new strategy to get more income out of a rental property. Now, the only thing about Airbnbs is right now Airbnbs are kind of struggling in some places, right? When the economy suffers, oftentimes Airbnbs suffer. Why is that? Well, Airbnb suffer because it's a want, not a need, right? You know what? When things get tough on families, guys, people start tightening the purses and they stop traveling. They stop going to those places, stop paying what they used to pay. So some of these Airbnbs, especially the cookie cutter ones, don't make as much money. So is there a solution for this? Okay. The solution is Padsplit. Okay. So before I go into that, I'll kind of give you a little bit of background on how I heard about Padsplit. I told you that I'm diving into this investment game. For the past 4 years, I've actually paid to be part of a group called Access. This is me at one of the conferences. This is not a cheap group to be a part of. I pay for it because I want to expand my mind. I want to expand my connections, and I want to know what's out there. I want to know how the wealthy people are making money, because it's not always in those traditional senses that you talk about. Like, for instance, the guy that leads this group doesn't like to do long-term rentals. He thinks that rents are just the glue that keeps a deal together before he sells all his property and makes the equity. He has no interest in doing long-term holds, and he loves private lending. So you start hearing this stuff and you're like, man, why don't you like that? And why do you like this? And you start learning and learning. So while I was on one of these webinars, somebody said, maybe we could start looking into Padsplit. And I was like, what is Padsplit? So I started kind of researching it a little bit, and I'm like, okay, Padsplit is really interesting. I wonder how that would work. And it was funny because I was dealing with a residential client that had a property with like 7 or 8 bedrooms. And when immediately after this webinar, I was like, man, maybe this guy could Padsplit that property. I started to expand my mind. Well, God works in funny ways, right? You hear something one time, and then you hear about it a second time, and you're like, wait a minute. Is somebody telling me something, right? So guess what? Somebody calls me. I don't even know if you know this story, Gil, but there was a guy. I don't know if you remember this, Gil. Back in the day when we rented that room in the back of our office to the video game guys, there was a guy that came out there, and I would happen to be in the kitchen one day, and I met him. He was a guy that was coming to meet with the video game guys, and I met him years and years and years ago. Well, it turns out he calls me out of the blue last year and says, hey, man, I happen to be director of sales for a company called Padsplit. You ever heard of it? I was like, bro, I just heard about that company. And he's like, man, I've been seeing you speak online and all that stuff. He's like, do you think you could come out and speak to my sales team? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, he's like, how much do we pay you? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, who's going to be in the room, bro? And he said, he's like, oh, it's going to be like our sales team's about 20 folks. And then he goes, and all of our leadership, all of our executives. I'm like, your executives are going to be in that room? I was like, bro, you don't have to pay me a thing. I just want to get in that room and talk in front of those executives because I want to build a relationship with those guys, right? So here I am giving my investor season presentation to their sales crew. And I was talking to all their top brass. And I knew right after that meeting, I was like, man, guys, have you guys actually thought about like connecting with EXP about this? And it's funny because he says to me, he's like, yeah, we've been thinking about it. He's like, but I don't think we're ready. And this might be a good lesson for you guys. Like, how many times in real estate you're like, oh, I want to do this thing, but I don't think I'm ready. I looked at the guy, I was like, bro, you don't make these connections when you're ready. You make these connections right now, right? And you start the conversation. I was like, I can facilitate this conversation. So we start moving down that road. Turns out a few months later, the founder of Padsplit comes to my access meeting and we get a chance to invest in this company. This is the founder, Atticus LeBlanc. And so I'm actually invested in Padsplit. This is one of the companies that I am invested in because well, I've already seen their track record. They're already growing, but I see a future in this. And I think you'll see why, because they are solving a major, major problem in real estate for the consumer and also problems for the investor. So I made the connection with EXP. Okay. Those conversations took about a year and a half to manifest. But this will be one of the certifications that will be coming up in Revenos with EXP. So what you're going to get today is a preview, right? So what I believe is that you're never going to learn. I'm not going to teach you Padsplit in 30 minutes. What I'm going to give you is a repetition. I'm giving you a repetition prior to you going getting your certification through EXP Revenos. So I'll give you some steps that you'll need to take. Once this comes out on Revenos, sign up and do the certification with Revenos because there's going to be a lead opportunity. Because guess what? Padsplit gets about 2,000 to 3,000 inquiries from investors every single month who want to be a host for a Padsplit property but don't have the property yet. Guess where those leads are coming? EXP agents. Those leads are coming to EXP agents, and those who are certified are going to be able to do it. So that'll be the future. Okay. So that's kind of the lead up of how I got into the Padsplit game. Okay. So I have one goal today. Once again, I cannot teach you Padsplit, but I can give you a repetition. My goal today is to get you confident enough to talk to investors and excited enough to research more. That is my only goal today. Okay. Because here's my philosophy. This is the beginning, not the end of your education. Okay. If I believe that wealth is an area of study. Okay. You need to take wealth very seriously. I always say passive income is the only cure for work. Passive income is the only cure for work. So you better be working on learning about passive income. You better be working on investing. This is not like maybe I'll get to it one day. You need to get to it today. And that's why we're doing this talk today. Okay. So I want you guys to fill in the blank in the chat right now. So I'm going to give you a phrase and I want you to fill in the blank in the chat. Here's the phrase. I just want you to give me whatever it is. Let me find my chat. Where'd my chat go? I'm going to see it. There it is. Okay, fill in the blank. We have a blank housing crisis in this country. What's the word I'm looking for?
Is it affordability?
Gil, you're not supposed to answer the questions, okay? You're the host.
Oh shoot, I wasn't even sure if I had the right answer.
Gil, I'm trying to. No, I was thinking that you guys would all get this because you hear this all the time. Yes, we have an affordable housing crisis in this country. Every single city in the United States talks about affordable housing. Like it's like the topic of all the conversation in government, in politics. It's affordable housing. We don't have enough affordable housing. We don't have enough affordable housing. How do we get more affordable housing? This is a problem. Now, I tell you this because when when I've been getting kind of this education and investing in startup companies as an angel investor, one of the number one things we ask ourselves is, what problem is this company solving? And if it's a big enough problem, if it's a problem that you were like, oh my gosh, we definitely have that problem, then you might have something there. You might have a company you want to invest in. You might. Okay. So here is the mission of Padsplit. Our purpose is to help solve the affordable housing crisis one room at a time. Okay. Here's their philosophy. The philosophy is we don't have to build new affordable housing. It already exists. Affordable housing already exists. It's all in all those single family homes that are existing right now, right? All these single family homes that investors are no longer looking at because they don't get good returns on long-term rentals. That is our affordable housing solution. We don't have to build a building. We don't have to build an apartment complex that's labeled affordable housing or workforce housing. We have it right here. Why? Because millions of people a day are typing in, how do I rent a room, or where can I rent a room? There's a lot of people. How many people have come to you in real estate and were like, do you know anybody renting a room? Like, I need to rent a room. And you're like, dude, I don't even do that. Like, I like, well, that's what Padsplit does. It's become a portal to help those folks find a room. Okay. So what is Padsplit? Padsplit basically has solved a few problems. Number one is all these people that are looking for affordable housing. Do you know that even in a crappy apartment, somebody has to come up with first and last month? Even in a crappy apartment, your barrier to entry is probably $2,500. You know, we people always talk about here in Orlando, Pine Hills. Oh, Pine Hills, Pine Hills. Even in Pine Hills, you're not going to get away with at least 20. You have to have $2,500 in your bank just to get first and last month rent. Well, that sucks because there's a lot of people, right? Like your favorite waitress at the restaurant that you love, that does a really good job. She doesn't make that much money, man. I don't know if you know about this inflation thing or this tariff thing or this lack of affordability thing. Like, it is affecting people. It might not affect you as much, but that person that's worked, that manager at Target, that favorite waitress of yours, all these people that are working in your community are having a tough time, right? And some of them are actually living out of their cars right now. But what if they had another opportunity to live in a decent neighborhood, in a great house, and just rent a room? That's what Padsplit does. So here's what I want you to do and take out of your mind right now. This happens every time I talk about Padsplit. You're trying to think to yourself, who would be the type of person that would live in a Padsplit? And you're trying to figure out that problem. You don't have to figure out that problem. Padsplit already figured it out. And it's not who you think. Everybody thinks the same thing. Oh, you know, what about all these traveling nurses? And what about the firemen? And what about, stop. There's people in this country, even if you wouldn't rent a room, there's millions of people in this country that rent a room, and they all go to padsplit.com and they're looking for a room. But now you as an investor have a chance to own a property that gets you multifamily returns from a single family property. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And that is Padsplit. Okay. So what does it look like? So here's what happens, okay? Right now, this is what a typical rental, long-term rental looks like, right? You find this 4-bedroom house on the left, right? So you rent it out to one family, right? And you charge them $2,000 a month for that house. The problem with that is the returns suck. You know, like, you got a mortgage to pay, you got this to pay, you got expenses to pay, you've got one family living there, and all you can make is $2,000 a month, right? However, what if you took that same property and you said, wait a minute, if I could turn that 4-bedroom into a 6-bedroom, or that 4-bedroom into a 7-bedroom, then I could increase the income. But what if instead of renting the entire house to one family, I rented each room by the week? So now I'm renting by the week and I'm renting each room. So now instead of just getting $2,000 a month from one family, now you're getting $729 a month per bedroom. Okay. And this becomes affordable housing for somebody, right? So you think to yourself, oh my God, well, what does this look like? Oh, well, here's what it looks like. The bedroom has now become the new apartment. People ask all the time, how does this work? Do they all share bathrooms? Yes, they share bathrooms. But remember, most of these people are working. Most of these people are in their room. I remember the founder was on stage, the founder of Padsplit, and he was like, he was like, people ask me this all the time, like, what is it? Isn't it chaos in there? What, in the house, there's all these people living there. He's like, bro, if you go to 90% of the pad splits in this country, you hear nothing because most people are working or in their room. Like it's usually a move up thing. Like the average, the people who rent out a pad split, the average is about 7 months. And what are they doing? They're saving money for their house. They're saving money for their next apartment. It's an interim thing, right? And guess what? You know what a lot of people do? Well, a lot of people live in a bedroom and realize the investment opportunity, end up getting their own pad split property, and they become investors themselves. Okay. So does this make sense? What we're doing is now renting, but we're adding rooms. So we're adding income streams, but we're also renting by the room by the week. Okay. So this is what we do. So what are the investor advantages to a pad split? Once again, I'm giving you the 30-minute version, guys. I'm going to give you the main things. You will want to, I'll show you steps on how to go deeper into this, not only with Revenos, but I'm going to give you a link where you can actually become a pad split host for free and then set up a webinar with them. I want you to dive deep so you can understand how these work, because what you're going to do as an agent for the investors is what's cool about this? It's not easy to identify a good pad split for somebody, which is an opportunity for you guys. You have to be kind of smart and you got to understand. But when you do, investors will be coming at you in droves to have you find them a pad split property, right? Think about this. Think about an investor, not even a new investor that wants their first pad split. There's people that have multiple pad split, but think about that guy right now who has a 20 home portfolio and it's getting okay returns. And you go to him and say, give me your 3 worst properties. Let's turn them into pad splits so you can see what this can do. And now suddenly you're making 200 to 300% more revenue from that house. I think you're going to be a hero. And he's going to be, how many more of these can I turn into a pad split? Okay. So advantages for investors, 200 to 300% more revenue from one property. We're talking multifamily returns on a single family property. How did we do that again? We added rooms and we started renting by the room by the week. Okay. No tenant member management. So here's what I'll show you what pad split does in a minute, but part of the main thing is your investors are saying to yourself, oh, I didn't like managing one renter, one family, right? I certainly don't want to manage 8 people in a house. Don't worry about it. That's what pad split does. Any member issues, anything like that, they rent it out for you. They manage, they call them members. They're not tenants, they call them members, which I think is super cool. Okay. So they're members. Okay. And they do all the management of that and they lease it out for you. Okay. A house that you rent typically, right? Remember that example I gave you of the house that was making $2,000 a month? What happens if that family skips it? What happens to your income on that house if that family decides not to pay or they decide to leave abruptly? What happens to your income on that house? Right? Exactly, Gil. Right? So, hold on. I'm going to go back. So one of the advantages of this, guys, is that your house will rarely be fully vacant. Remember, you're renting individual rooms. So let's say you're renting out to 6 people. What are the chances all 6 move out at the same time? Slim to none. So once you're fully booked, right, you're going to have maybe one person leave the house and you put a new one in, but your house will never go from having $2,000 a month income to having 0. That is a de-risking mechanism for your investor, okay? And then finally, there's tax write-offs, right? Remember, every time right now, there's a lot of people that are like, well, how can I get tax write-offs? Well, you get a pad split, you're gonna have to do renovations, repairs. You're gonna have more if you do a DSCR loan, which the majority of pad split investors will get a DSCR loan on these, right? So that they only have a certain amount of money into it. So they increase their cash on cash return. So they're going to be paying mortgage interest. You can write that off. You can write the insurance off, the utilities off. So now you got a tax write-off and now you got multifamily returns coming from single family property. Okay. What is pad split's role in all of this? Number one is they're going to rent out and manage all member issues. Okay. So Their job is to rent it out. Now, you as the agent and consultant for your investor, you still have to put a good listing up, right? So in other words, these things, you have to take great pictures, you have to put a great listing up, you have to price it right. But assuming you do all those things right, Padsplit's job, Padsplit's already getting all the inquiries on Padsplit.com for people renting a room. They will rent this out for you, okay? And they manage all member issues, meaning whenever there's an issue arises from one of the 6, 7, 8 people, 9 people I've seen, there's houses that have 9 people in them, right? They manage all those issues for you. They also efficiently collect payments for you. So you don't have to worry about collecting 8 payments, right? They do this all efficiently for you. They don't have to collect 8 payments every single week. They're doing that for you. They're paying you. They have it all managed for you. So you don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. Okay. It helps you with tools and account execs to make sure you have a solid Padsplit property. So there's a whole system on the back end, which we're essentially as EXP going to train you guys to be the account executives, because you guys will be doing a lot of this upfront stuff to help these investors know, hey, this is a good candidate for a Padsplit. And I'm going to tell you why, right? But regardless, Padsplit does have execs that are going to help you kind of underwrite the property and say, hey man, this is a good layout. This is a good area. This makes sense for what you're charging and all that. And there's also all these like calculator tools and stuff in the back end of the Padsplit website. So your investor host has all those tools. And here's what they charge. So Padsplit charges the first 10 days of the first month when they put a renter in there, right? Which comes out to a couple $100. So that's the booking fee. So the first 10 days of rent for that first month that somebody moves in, that's their booking fee, which I said comes out to a couple $100 maybe, right? And then after that, 8% of the revenue per month is their management fee. And once again, what do? They book it out for you. When somebody moves out, they give you another renter, right? They manage any member issues and they collect payments for you. That's what you're paying the 8% for. If you want this to be completely turnkey, yes, your investor will still have to pay, a handyman or somebody else to kind of answer that call when a toilet goes out. Okay. But so there'll be an extra cost for that if you want to be completely hands off and don't want to get any calls. Okay. What are the member benefits? So what are the actual people, right? Remember, we're solving the affordable housing crisis right now with existing inventory, existing houses, which I love. I love that we have this is mission driven and it's also profit driven, right? This is really cool. So the members, the tenants, what do they get? The barrier of entry is now about $150. Okay, remember that $2,500 for the first and last month's rent? Now they can get into this for about $150. They pay like a one-time $20 fee and like another fee, and that's it. $150 to get in. There's no minimum credit score, so you don't have to, qualify with a credit score. Now people ask, like, wait a minute, are we just getting these randoms in there? No, they do background checks. So that is something that Padsplit also does for you in the background. So when they lease these properties out, they are doing background checks. So you're not getting, bad people in there or whatever. But we are trying to get people that normally couldn't rent an apartment to get a room, right? So they don't have a minimum credit score. How about a fully furnished room? You don't have to worry about furniture. The rooms come furnished. So a lot of people, guys, are turning their Airbnbs into Padsplits. A lot of people are it's already furnished. They're having trouble with, booking the Airbnb. Like I told you, Airbnb is a want, not a need. So when people's pocket get tight, they don't travel as much and they're just sick of managing their place like a hotel. Guess what? You got 8 bedrooms in your spot. Let's turn it into a Padsplit. Let's start getting you some real income from this property. So a lot of people are doing that. Somebody in the chat saying something. Let's see. Boom. I like that. It's Deontay with the boom. So a lot of people that have Airbnbs, that's a great target market for a pass. But hey, how's your Airbnb doing? Oh man, I'm sick of this. It's not getting the returns I want. Have you ever thought about converting this into a Padsplit? What's Padsplit? Let me talk to you. Okay. You're going to be an expert on this. Okay. And what's the other benefit for members? How about no extra bills? Hey, that weekly payment, right? Let's say it's $170 a week you're paying. You don't have to pay another bill for power. You don't have to pay another bill for water. That's all you pay. That's all you pay, right? The host will take care of the rest. Remember, the host is getting a lot more money from these properties. Okay. So what's next? Let's talk about the ideal property. Okay. So you're asking yourself, okay, well, certainly not all properties will work for this. So yes, you're absolutely correct. Just like Airbnb, you can't just put it in any random place and hope you're going to have success, right? So what are we looking for in general? Once again, there are more qualifications to this, but I want to give you the basics so you have one repetition. So you're probably going to want to be in a no HOA area. Okay. You're probably going to want to be in a no HOA area. Can it work in an HOA area? Yes. Just like they'll tell you maybe Airbnb could work. I'd just say in general, no HOA, so we don't have any issues. Number two is you want to be in a neighborhood that makes sense. In particular, what I'm talking about is where neighbors would not complain if there are more people living in the home. Similar to an Airbnb, you don't want to be in a neighborhood where like you got people in and out. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, if I have 8 people in a house, am I going to have 8 cars in like the driveway? No. So only 47% of Padsplit members actually own a car. So it's not what you think. So it's usually not as many cars as you think, but you still would want to be in that kind of neighborhood. I always think about places like Deltona. You know what I'm talking about? The house has maybe a third of an acre. It's in a neighborhood that's no HOA. Everybody kind of keeps to themselves. It's a decent neighborhood, but it's not like, you're not going to have a neighbor complaining, because this is where like the number one problem you're going to have, if you do have a problem at all, is more like neighbor complaints. So you don't want to be in a neighborhood where this doesn't make sense, where this like, okay, it's a gated neighborhood with an HOA and suddenly there's 8 people living in this house. You guys got to be smart about that, right? So let's see. We got Misty in the house. Look, she's got some potential leads for that. Absolutely. So the ideal property. Okay, so a neighborhood that makes sense. The next thing is a house layout that makes sense to add the extra bedrooms and to meet room and house requirements. So like I told you, I'm not diving super deep into this, but I'll give you one requirement that you have to know, which is that the rooms have to be a minimum of 80 square feet, right? So you can't have like a super tiny room. 80 square feet, by the way, is an 8x10 room, which is not a big room, right? But like that's just one of the minimums. So in other words, when you're looking at the layout, and you're saying, can I turn this into a room? You got to make sure you can turn it into an 80 square foot plus room, right? So what are we looking at? What you're like, man, well, what are you talking about when it comes to rooms? Hey, that dining room that nobody's using, that's going to be a bedroom. Hey, that extra little den, that's going to be a bedroom. Hey, that extra, like, how people walk in and they're like, you have like 2 living rooms. There's like one off to the side and then there's like another one. And it's like, dude, you can break that one off into 2 bedrooms if you want to, right? So suddenly your 4 turns into an 8, right? Your 3 turns into a 6. Your 4 turns into a 7 bedroom. And obviously you got garage conversions, right? Another one of the house requirements is that each room has to have 2 points of egress, meaning you're going to have obviously a door from the inside of the house going into the room, but some way to get to the outside of the house. So it has to have either a window to the outside or a door to the outside. Okay. So those are all things that you need to know. But when you're looking at a house and you're looking at, does this house work? These are just some basic things that you're going to want to look at the house and say, would this make sense to add these 3 bedrooms? Okay. And you're going to want to kind of look, we still don't want to overpay for a property, right? So I want you thinking to yourself, man, what would be a good property for this? It's probably that property that maybe doesn't have the big enough margin for a flip, but it has a margin. Why? Because you're going to spend some money to fix this up, right? Which you might want to even use hard money to do at first, right? So if somebody's coming in with a low amount of cash, maybe they do a hard money to fix it up, and then they're going to refinance into that DSCR loan, right? So like I said, probably 90% of the investors that do this are doing DSCR loans on this, right? So you're going to want to get something that has that value add component, because you want to have equity, right? You want to fix it up so that you have equity once it's fixed up, so you can refinance out and get most of your cash back out, so you can do this over again. Okay. People in this Padsplit model particularly look for a cash on cash return of 15% plus. That's what they're looking for, right? So people don't talk in this game as much about cap rates. They talk about cash on cash return. How much money do I have to leave into this property at the end for the amount of return that I'm making on the money that I have in, right? And the higher, the better. I've seen 25, 35% cash on cash returns. Like the numbers can get super strong. So let's talk about some numbers. Here's an actual one This is the back end of Padsplit. So you have these tools as a host. Now, I don't have all the details. I had my guy at Padsplit send me this last night, but I just want to show you how much more you can get from the property, right? Think about this. A typical house, this is now this is a fully occupied 7-bedroom home. Okay. But guess what? It was probably, a 4-bedroom home that 3 bedrooms got added, or maybe you found a way to turn a 3 into a 7. Okay. So look at the kind of earnings, like the gross income coming in, $6,000 from that home, right? So imagine paying 200 and something for a property, then you put some money into it, then you refinance it out, and now this thing's bringing in $6,000 a month in gross income. This is the expense. This is that 8% fee that is charged, and there will obviously be more fees, like taxes, insurance, all that kind of stuff. But look at the amount of income just year to date. This was pulled last night, so this is year to date already on that property. That's a lot of income. And here's what the back end tool looks like. So you can see with every room, it shows you room 2 occupied for 147 days, $200 a week is what that person is paying. And you'll notice that the prices fluctuate. Prices often fluctuate based on bathrooms and size, right? So if you have a bedroom that has its own bathroom, that's a plus. Somebody will pay more money for that in the house. So it's not like you put one equal price on every room. Every room has a different size. It has potentially a bathroom. So these are the 7 bedrooms and what they're getting per week in that 7-bedroom home. Okay. So like I like to say, this is the beginning, not the end, right? This is the beginning of your investment education in Padsplit, but I don't want it to end here. So what are your next steps right now? So number 1 is, if you want to take a look at a few Padsplits, okay, I suggest you go to padsplit.com. You can do that right after this thing, and just go up here to find a room. Okay. So just go to find a room, and go in Orlando, and you'll see you're lucky. This is actually, just to let you know, they're not all over the country yet, but they're in, I don't know, about 20 cities right now, but they're all over Central Florida. So if you're in Central Florida, you'll see there's a map on the site as to where they at, but you'll be able to actually physically see the pictures of homes and what they look like. And you'll see these are nice homes. Like when people remodel these, and if you want to rent them out for top dollar, you're going to do a nice remodel. I mean, people are getting a really nice furnished room in a very nice house with very nice kitchens and very nice bathrooms. Like this is a great way to live, especially for that person in that interim spot. So this is a good place for you to go just to take a look at what's out there. And it'll also kind of be how you comp them, right? So when you got somebody, you'll kind of see where these homes are congregated, and you'll say, this must be a pretty decent area for a Padsplit. And then you'll see what those people are charging per week, and then it'll give you that kind of comp of like, maybe this is what we should charge for our Padsplit per week. It's going to give you that. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to go to investorseason.com/Padsplit. So I created a landing page for you guys. Okay. So where I'm going to provide you with a link to become a host. So why do I want you to do that? Because I want you to become a host and actually see the back end tools that you get with Padsplit. And number 2 is I want you to schedule a webinar. You'll see that there's a place there for you to schedule a webinar. Okay. And you can actually be with an exec and go through what Padsplit in detail is about, so you can get that second repetition. And of course, once Revenos has it, you can go to revenos.com. This is what it will look like once you become a host. There's a whole area of tools and resources, but it'll say right here, in this webinar will guide you through the process. You book the webinar, you're going to get that repetition that you are looking for, and you're going to get better and better at this. And ladies and gentlemen, that's Padsplit in a little over, maybe like 35. Maybe it was a 35 minutes that I did that, Gil.
It was a strong 35 minutes, man. I feel like you got us thinking, like, how do I open up a whole new revenue stream with clients who might be looking for something different, right? Something that they can go in there and, there was a question in the chat from Deontay. Is this something that works nationwide? Is Padsplit something that they could work in different markets?
So yes, It does. So right now, if we go to padsplit.com, I want to see if there's a map there. Go to
And
padsplit.com, see the map. It's in about 20 cities. They started in Atlanta, Deontay, but they are in multiple cities in the United States. They're not every place in the United States, but they are in many of the cities. So look on the map to see what cities they are in.
okay, so we're catching up early. So it's a good chance that your investors don't know about Padsplit, which allows you to start that conversation, education, bring them to a webinar and explore, is this a better opportunity for them? Because we've all seen Airbnbs go down. And Bobby, I love the fact that you mentioned, hey, these Airbnbs already have furniture. So all we're doing is just creating a model of profitability for someone. And once we do that, we allows us to sell them more properties, right? It's hard to sell them an Airbnb if their Airbnb is losing. But if I can get them into a different and more profitable opportunity, they're more willing to invest in those. We only got a few minutes for questions. I mean, this opened up so many ideas for me personally, I was like, okay, let's go play. I want to go look at the map and see where
So,
these
so
are. I want to look up
Misty, so
comp.
Misty, I already gave you the answer. So go in there and create a host account, okay? And you'll be able to talk to an exec. So you can be one of the hosts, right? So it seems like you already have a property that would work for this, Misty. So go ahead and do that. And you can see if your home makes sense. And then I see Genscher as well, who says, does the home have to be furnished as well? Yes, it does have to be furnished. So this brings up a point that maybe you guys are asking. So I will say you have to be willing to spend some money up front because you will be doing a remodel. You know, it costs some money to add bedrooms and do the things that you need to do, right? So, you know, an investor is going to come in, but no different than somebody who was flipping the property. All you're really doing is renovating the property to keep it now, right? So you could do a flip loan initially and then do the DSCR loan after, or just come in, do it cash, and then pull your cash out when you when you fix it up and do a DSCR loan. But yes, you will have to spend some money on adding the bedrooms, making it look nice, and furnishing. And the other question,
What else?
could you live in one of the rooms? Yeah, you could live in one of the rooms if you wanted to.
I got a question too, Bobby. With the HOA, it being preferred that it's not an HOA community, my brain is immediately I have a buyer who owns a Airbnb in the Airbnb community, so it's used to that type of traffic. Are you saying with those communities, Pad Split would still not be ideal since it does have a HOA set up? And it's
That I think that has a possibility to work. Um, they're used to the in and out, so you're probably not going to get complaints from neighbors. The main thing is no complaints from neighbors. But the thing is, in those HOA communities, they often have regulations on how long people can stay, and that's what you might run into in a specific short-term rental zone community. They might tell you that nobody can stay past 30 days or 3 months or whatever. Like I said, the average person is staying there for stuff. That's what you want to look into. If they don't have restrictions on that, then it might work in that kind of community. This one does. What else, guys? What you got?
I want to say this right here. I'm going to a investment property today, and they're looking for long-term rental properties. So I'm about to dive into this because this could be an opportunity for them. It's in the no HOA area, so it's a game changer for sure. You know, putting money in our people's pockets. So this part of it got me excited about it. So
Yeah,
glad
good.
you.
That's it. That was my goal. My goal is get you excited and get you confident, get you excited to learn more and get you confident enough to start talking to investors about it. This is something that's happening right now. Like I said, people with portfolios are starting to convert these. People are looking at this from the long term and saying, hey, you know what? It might be a little bit of money up front to put into this property, but 3, 4, 5 years down the road, I'll be glad I did, because I'm getting 200 to 300% more out of these properties. Essentially, I'm turning this single family into a multifamily. And if you're good as an agent in identifying these, this is why you want to go through Revenos and get the certification, because you will have to be pretty smart to get this done. You will have to know the areas. You'll have to know the type of neighborhoods, right? You're going to be good at doing the layouts. And with the revenues, they'll give you an actual spreadsheet where you can plug in some numbers and see, do the numbers work? Like if this person gets a DSCR loan for 7.5%, what kind of cash on cash return and cap rate are these guys getting? And if it fits their model, you'll be like, hey, and what's cool about it, you can go in the MLS, find these in advance and say, I have 3 properties here ready that look pad split ready. Okay, these are all penciling out pretty well for a pad split. Let's go take a look at these. And you'll make a better offer usually than a flipper would, right? Because you're doing it for a different reason. So a lot of opportunities there. You're already, the wheels are turning.
Hey, Bobby, I can
Yes.
actually speak to it because I'm walking someone through the process right now. They are getting their funding. But we've already been through, and I would definitely advise you to get on a phone call with a rep, because a rep can actually be on the calls with you to help your investor. And that's where I brought in a pad split rep in. We did 2 Zoom calls. It took 2 to help my investor to understand it, but we are getting funding right now. I'm sending her properties, and I have a pad split rep that I send her 4 or 5 properties. She sends the calculations. My investor feels comfortable because she feels like there's a team behind her, not just one agent sell me something and then I got to figure this out on my own.
Absolutely. And they got
That's
great
awesome.
reps. You know, one of them, Deon, when I did that presentation, your boy was there, E in Jacksonville. And he's one of the reps up in Jacksonville. So they knew Deontay Lawrence. I had some of the guys in the present. I had Deontay on the presentation, a picture of him, like, they're like, I know Deontay. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So Devin, you're absolutely right. They got a team behind you to help them. But I will tell you that you want to get good at this. When you get certified with Revenos, I'm essentially giving you them, empowering you like an exec with the company, so you can start doing these deals fast.
And if you want a quick hack, I look for properties that have 2,500 square feet, 2,800 square feet, that may still be 3 bedrooms currently. So those 1970s, 80s homes that have flat roofs, that have way too much square footage and not enough bedrooms, or they put 4 bathrooms in a 3-bedroom home. So you can do a quick criteria and automatically get 20 potential properties for people.
That's great. That's great stuff. Look at Devin already dialing it in. He's got a strategy already. That's what you do. Then you become good at this, and then you start making investment money, right? Gil, you want to close this out? We got any announcements or anything we want to tell these folks? Or not?
Of course, I couldn't find my freaking mute button. Listen, I would tell you, is this is opening your mind to new opportunities of business. Great. Go on to Padsplit. I was actually on the Padsplit website. I actually found it. I was like, well, what are the ideal neighborhoods for Padsplit? So I was reading the article that they have in there. They have a valuable library of information on padsplit.com. So go ahead and take a look at that. Learn a new way of doing business, but do the business. I would tell you, if you're looking for a way to continue to get Mastermind, we got an incredible Mastermind coming this August. It's called Build at Sea. We're going to be on a beautiful boat, and we're going to be cruising the Atlantic, making a few stops along the way, doing some Mastermind with some incredible speakers. So go to buildatsea.com to get the information. I've already booked my cabin. I hope to see you guys there. Buildatsea.com. Don't let this creep up on you. Get on the website, click on it, and start your registration process. The rates are pretty reasonable. Make sure that you get an opportunity to mastermind with some of the greatest global alliance leaders. And actually, we got some surprises. Of course, the Brent Gove's going to be there. You can never go wrong with Brent Gove, and just have some fun. I'll be there. A bunch of the leaders will be on there, and I look forward to seeing you guys there as well.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. Go make some money. We'll see you next time. Got Mastermind.
Yep. See you, Jake.